Hello, IML students. Today we are going to talk about support, resistance, and trend lines and how to draw them. You can remember one thing that will pay keep away to pause this video in order to answer these questions. Before we talk about what support and resistance is, let's review. Remember, we talked about Japanese candlesticks, and if you don't remember, go back and watch the video titled Price Action, which was one that was before this one. Okay, so let's just review real quick. Remember, you have a Japanese candlestick. That's what this little structure is on the screen. The little skinny, pointy, prickly looking thing, that is called a wick, also known as a shadow or exhaustion. And then you've got the body of the candle. All right, so those wicks, remember we talked in price action, they tell us a lot of information. They tell us a lot of information of what the market is indicating. Is it trying to go in a certain direction? It gives you a lot of information about which direction it's looking at going. Okay, you remember that we talked about the OHLC chart. That's something that you want to make sure you recall. So if you do not remember, please go back and watch the video titled Price Action. Now let's talk about resistance. All right, resistance is one of the first things that we'll talk about. Resistance is like a ceiling. So if you see in this picture, you see how that wick was approaching the line, but it was not trying to go above the line. See, resistance is kind of like a ceiling where price struggles to get above it. So you see in this picture, here's another really good example, a lifelike picture of resistance. You see how all of those wicks, or how even price action came up to that area, that line, and had a hard time going through it. So when I say struggle, I mean that, price was on its way up there. Price makes moves up or down or sideways. But in this situation, price was making its move upwards, and then it stalls. So that stalling point is what causes people to draw resistance lines. See, resistance is not like some specific or some special, magic line that everybody knows exactly where it is. Most people are all looking in similar places. So your resistance line, let's say I draw it where you see it right here on the screen, and maybe you drew it like a hair above that, and maybe somebody else on the other side of the globe drew it a hair below. Nonetheless, we all see how price is struggling in that region. And so that is why we draw a resistance line there. That resistance line is showing, it's just a symbol that this is an area where price is seemingly struggling. Okay, does that make sense? Now, much like resistance, you have support. Support is like resistance, except it's like a floor, or it is a support. So in the same way you stand on the ground or on the floor and the floor holds you up, price is held up in this area. So no, obviously it's not literal. Price does not actually hold, or excuse me, the line is not actually holding price up, but you can see how price made its way down to that area, and you see how the wick is touching that line or near that line. That line is more of a region than it is an actual hardcore line, all right? But support is like a floor. It holds price up. So here again is another picture of the actual market with an actual support line. So remember what I was talking about with resistance. That line is not a magical line that, everybody all across the world has the same line in the same area. It is just a guesstimation of where I see price has been turning around, you see price has been turning around, she and he sees price turning around. So it's more of like a guesstimation than anything. It's a region where price has come down and gone up. Now, the reason why you want to draw these kinds of lines is because you're creating a map. You're basically mapping out what price is doing. All right, so you can see how price came down the line, came down to the line at one time, and then it turned around and went up. Then it came down to the line again, and then what happened? It turned around and went up. So now you see price approaching that same area. All right, what are you going to be thinking that price is possibly going to be doing? Probably turning around and going back up. Now, we have no crystal balls. Nobody gets to say what's really going to happen, but what you do get to do is start to create a map of what you think price is going to do. So as of right now, because it's above the line, we're looking for the possibility that price will come down to it again and turn around. So in this picture right here, you also can see that it says support can become resistance and resistance can become support. So what does that mean? Well, really, support is only support if price is above it and is bouncing off the top of it, meaning if price has come down to it and has found support, meaning it hasn't broken below. Resistance is only resistance if price is below that line area. So price is going upward, approaching that line, but not going over it. Okay. So the only reason why a line is support or resistance, it really just depends on where price is actually located at that given time. So now you can see how that same area, that same region that we called support can become resistance. You see how it's been touched multiple times. You've got support here and you've got resistance over there. The more touches, the stronger the line. So what do I actually mean? So what do I actually mean when I say the stronger the line? I'm going to give you an example of what I mean when I say the stronger the line. Okay, when my husband and I decided to buy some furniture, we bought a table. I picked it out. I love the table. He didn't like the table. We got it home. We put it in the kitchen, and I loved it when I saw it. So my husband thought it didn't work there. It was too big. It just took over the area. I said, I love it. It's great. Just believe me. And he still was like, no, I don't like it. So here we go. A friend comes over and they said, oh my gosh, I love the table. It's amazing. Oh, I just love it. He's like, you really think so? You really like that table? I don't really know. Here we go. Another friend comes over another day. Oh my gosh. Oh, this table that you got is so perfect. It just fits the area well. And he still looks at the table. Yeah, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know about it. Third person comes over. Oh my gosh, the table. I love the table. And this is him, my husband. Yes, I thought the table looked really good. We were actually thinking about getting chairs and putting them over here. Now, all of a sudden, my husband likes the table and is actually acting as though he picked it out and has plans to put new chairs and whatnot by the table. So what do I mean when I say the more touches, the stronger the line? In the same way that my husband needed at least 3 other people to come by and reassure him that the table is amazing. Now all of a sudden, he loves the table. In the same way, the more times price touches the line, the more we as traders think that this is an area where price is going to react. I hope that makes sense. Something else you want to keep in mind in regards to support and resistance zones. I want you to know that they're not like this perfect little line that you draw where, price has to come and touch this perfect little line. They're more like zones or broad areas. So the reason why I have them drawn as zones or broad areas is because not everybody is going to be looking at the exact same place, but they're all going to be looking around the same area. So when you think about price and it having a reaction, maybe you drew the line about 5 pips below somebody else on the other side of the globe. But everybody across the globe all sees the same area. So when you draw them, make sure you draw them more like areas. If you put a line there, know that price can react anywhere near, below, or slightly, or above that area that you drew, okay? So now let's talk about how do you actually draw support and resistance. I talked about what they are. Now let's actually get into how would you actually apply and draw them. And guys, after you watch this video, I want you to go to TradingView or MetaTrader 4, and I want you to actually practice looking for what I'm about to talk about next. Start practicing drawing these immediately. So now, looking at this actual frame, you see here how price goes up and then it turns around, or price is going down and it turns around. I like to call these major reversal areas. Nothing, rocket science, nothing amazing. You can see that it was an area where price reversed majorly. It wasn't like, I'm just kind of slightly chill and, do a little dip and then keep going up. It was a complete U-turn, complete turn. So those areas I call major reversal areas. It comes down to how you see them. What do you determine a major reversal area? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a major reversal area. So when you see one of those areas where price came and did a major turn, that could be an area of support and resistance. Remember, a support line is resistance. It depends on what side price is on. Okay, so looking here at the picture, you see where I drew those lines? most likely you would have drawn those lines similar in those same situations. The problem is you don't actually have to draw like 50,000 lines. You want to always start where price is currently at and draw your lines starting there. That's where you would want to do it. And if you want to actually have, more interaction and see how I draw them, or even be able to ask questions, please come to my channel on Forex 101, where I talk about drawing these lines regularly. So this is just, obviously you can only see it in a still frame, but I want you to actually practice this. Look for where you see major reversal areas. Now look at this one. Do you see how in this one there is no lines, there's nothing going on this slide? Okay, if I just showed you the slide and I said, hey, so what do you think price is going to be doing? Where do you think price is heading? Especially people who don't know anything about, marking up their charts, probably assuming people who are on this, actual video right now. If I showed you an empty slide with nothing and I said, okay, so tell me where price is heading, it's going to be very hard. Maybe you could say it's going down. Maybe you don't realize it's actually on its way up. Maybe you don't realize that. But when you actually put the lines in, then it becomes more clear. Now here's that exact same picture, but with the support and resistance areas drawn. Now when you look at it, maybe you guys are noticing that, okay, price was going down, but now it's reaching that area of support. And I'm thinking, if price gets to this area, I think it's going to turn around. So I'm going to be looking for a buy. Now, here's the really cool thing, guys. I looked at this exact same frame. This frame was taken, about, I'd say, from the time of this recording, this frame was taken about about 2 weeks ago. I took this picture about 2 weeks ago from the time of this recording. At that time, I was saying, I did a presentation and I said, look, if price gets to this area, then I'm going to be looking for a buy. Now, if you go ahead and log onto your computer and you look at the same exact area, you will see that price did in fact come down to that area and turn around and go all the way back up. It did exactly what it did in the past. So it's worth drawing these lines to show or to create a map. Does this happen every single time? No, but what you're doing is you're creating a higher probability trade. Every time you trade, you're not going to win. But what you want to do is you want to increase the probability of you winning. And you can do that by drawing these lines and creating these nice if-then statements. You can see in this slide, again, I talk about if-then. If price is here, then I will be watching for this area. So you see how it says I'm watching this area? That actually means I am looking specifically at this area to see what did price do in the past. And as you see where that other area is, where that other arrow is pointed, you see how price came down and turned around. Just as I said in the last slide, I talked about how price did exactly what it did in the past. You want to be looking for what price has done in the past to get an idea of what it could do in the future. Okay. Also, you also keep in mind that if price is above that area, then you want to be more partial to be looking for buys. If price is below, then you want to be more partial for looking for sales. By now, you should have a good understanding of the following questions.